If I think about what I achieved in that first year, that set me up for the rest of my life, ultimately. Looked around the local private school. I remember looking around and thinking, wow, I really want her to go here. I was in my late 20s and I'm looking around and thinking, yeah, I did this.
In our academy, there's students that are raising private finance every week. We raised last year £10.6 million of private finance into people's deals. So we see this day in, day out.
There was nothing wrong with my career, but there was definitely something wrong with how much money was landing in my bank account every single month. That wasn't about the properties, it wasn't about the income, it was about the mindset. A massive thing that I say in property and in life, people buy people.
How many people now, in your experience, would you say have got funds available that could be put to use, but they don't know what to do with it?
They're everywhere. 1 in 6 people have got over £100,000 either in equity that's being given to them, that's in their pension. Everybody around you has got access to money.
In today's episode, I am joined by Helen Louise, who has travelled down from the Northeast to share with us everything that she's achieved and, more importantly, how she's done it so you can do exactly the same. In this conversation, we're going to talk about what it's like being a woman in business and specifically a woman in property. We're going to look at what she has managed to do, how she's gone about it, and the tips and tricks that you need to know, and also the mistakes that she might have made so you can avoid doing exactly the same thing. Now, you're going to see in this episode, but what Helen has achieved over the last 7 years is nothing short of incredible and is a testament to what you can do if you tap into your mindset and you take the action that you need to take. So let's get stuck into this conversation. I'm super excited to have you here. And of course, if you like this content, do like and subscribe so you can see more property gems and more property legends like Helen as well. So first and foremost, Helen, thank you for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
And I guess let's start from what you've achieved and then go back to how you actually achieved it. So in your first 18 months of property, from the moment that you made the decision to get stuck in, and we'll talk about which strategies you did and how you did this, but you generated over £372,000 of profit. That's quite an incredible amount. I think anyone would agree that that becomes very life-changing when you make that sort of revenue. So I want to get into how you did that. I want to work out why you did that. And also I want to look maybe at what your future plans are and where you're headed to. So before I do that, let's take it back. What was life like before you invested into property? What were you doing? What was your chosen career path? And then we'll get a little sense of where you started out.
Okay, so right at the very beginning, went to university, decided to become a teacher. So I got my 2 degrees, went into teaching, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. There was nothing wrong with my career, but there was definitely something wrong with how much money was landing in my bank account every single month. I knew that I wanted more. I knew that I needed to get more, but at that point, I just wasn't quite sure how to do it. So I'm working full time, and then I have a little girl. And everything changes at this point. So you're now running around like crazy. The days are really long. The days are really difficult. And I realised that I'm doing all of this and I still am left with barely any money at the end of every single month. So I knew something had to change. And I think it was probably trying to hold down a full-time career and having a child and then looking at her and thinking, how am I ever going to fund her future? Like, how am I actually going to do that with this money that I'm getting? I get to the end of every month and there's nothing left. So it started out as teaching and then obviously it progressed into something else, which was property.
When you say not much money, can you put that into figures? What sort of money were you getting paid at the time?
So I was getting paid £1,200 a month. That was after my pension, after my tax, after everything that had gone out. That's what I was taking home. But you think at this point, I've got a mortgage. I've got a vehicle to pay for. I've got a child to pay for. So I actually used to organise my money quite well. I would have my envelopes that were set and labelled week 1, 2, 3 and 4. And they would be above the bed. And I would open up week one, and if I was really good and didn't spend too much money that week, I would be able to carry £20 over, sometimes £40 into next week. That's all I had to live off. I used to give myself £100 in those envelopes every week. That was what I had to live off. That was my shopping. That was my fuel. That was my social life. That was everything. So it was difficult, but it was doable, but I knew it wasn't where I wanted to be.
So you had a very interesting budgeting strategy, which actually is very smart. So it's saying, well, I'm going to take this money, split it into equal proportions. So a lot of people get paid monthly and then they end up with too much month left at the end of their money. So you say, well, I'm going to do this by the week and split that out. If I'm disciplined, I can carry some money over into next week. But I suppose, as we know, you can only ever save yourself so far if the level of income coming in isn't that high.
Exactly.
Why above the bed?
It's a great question. There was just a cupboard there.
Okay. I wasn't sure if there was some reason or some rationale. No, that's fine. Okay.
I mean, I don't think anyone was going to come and hunt me down for £400, but I guess if they were, the last place they'd look is above the bed. I don't know. Maybe I should have put it under the mattress.
Maybe. I think that's a stereotypical hiding place. I think everyone hides. Well, not me, by the way. There's nothing under my mattress. But I think a lot of people stereotypically hide money under the mattress and also in the fridge. That's a bizarre one, but according to statistics,
I used to put my keys in the fridge so that I didn't forget them on the morning.
I can believe that. Actually, I can believe that. Before I digress way too far away from where we're at. Okay, so you've gone and done what you're supposed to do, right? You got the degrees, you studied to become a teacher, and the teaching profession, what attracted you to that in the first place? Was it that you were going to build a strong career path, make lots of money? Did you just fall into it?
I've always liked helping other people. So when I was younger, I used to teach people to ride their horses. So teaching's always come quite naturally to me. I like seeing other people succeed. So that for me seemed like the obvious career choice. And when you get to university, you're expected to know what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Realistically, at 19, should you be making those decisions? Probably not. But I did. So I ended up on that path and I did actually really enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with the teaching. Obviously, I'm teaching again now in a different way. So it was fine. It's just you're never going to get the money. And I remember very vividly sat in a lecture one day and a lady came on to the front and she said to us, "You must be doing teaching because you love it. You cannot do this for the money because you are never going to get paid well." And I remember thinking at the time, great. I've spent £60,000 on university. You're sat here telling me that I'm never probably going to get that money back. Thank you very much for the heads up on this one. So it was always explained to you that you were never doing it for the money. And I don't think I'd really thought about what it was going to be to have money as I grew older. So I knew I wanted a house, I knew I wanted land, I knew I wanted to have my horses. And I thought by going to university, getting a great job, I'd be able to afford that. And the reality was, on that wage alone, I could never have afforded that. I could never have even afforded just a standard property, never mind something that I was looking for. So I think I quite quickly realised what I was doing wasn't going to get me to where I actually wanted to be.
Understood. So, okay, you've had this realisation that turns out being a teacher is not going to financially give you the rewards that you were hoping for, despite the fact that you actually enjoyed it. Similar to myself, I actually enjoyed being in the fire service. I loved the job that I did. I loved the people that I did it for. It was very interesting, very exciting. But financially, it was very difficult to have any quality of life or to build a legacy away from that. So you talk me through, did property come onto the radar? How did that come up? Is it something that you actively look for? Is it something that somebody mentioned? Or how did you end up falling down the rabbit hole of property?
I think I've always been involved in property. My dad's a builder, so I always watched him going out, building amazing houses. I was really intrigued by the work that he did. And it's something that I've always been around. So we moved around quite a lot when I was younger. Dad would build houses, then we would move. So it's something that interested me. And I spoke to him about it. I said, I'd like to have a couple of £100 a month to allow me to have some better holidays and to start to save. So the goal was £200 a month extra. This is going to be life-changing. So I decided to go with my dad and get some education to find out how I could secure a buy-to-let property. That's what I really, really wanted. I thought if I get a few buy-to-let, a couple of £100 extra a month, that's going to have me set for life.
Nice.
That was my belief at the time.
It's interesting because we benchmark our goals a lot of the time off of our current reality and what we believe is possible. So you get people, and if you say to them, okay, you want to build to 10 grand a month, it's, 10 grand a month. I just want an extra £1,000 or an extra 500, or in your case, like an extra couple £100, which is fascinating to hear. So your dad was a builder. They did some stuff on property, and did that go well? So were they incredibly wealthy from it, or what did that look like?
No, he's a great builder, but he's not incredibly wealthy. So again, he also wanted to find out more about property too. So I knew the property, there was a strategy there, but I didn't know what was all of the other potential strategies that were involved with property at the time. I thought you just did buy to let. That's all that I ever imagined. If you'd have mentioned to me at that point in my journey that you could do all of these other things, you could earn 10 grand a month, I would have been, that's nice for that person. That would have been so far away from what I would ever have thought I could achieve that I wouldn't have believed it. I would have probably just dismissed it at that point.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I remember hearing about people making certain amounts of money when I was younger, because the area I grew up in and the people I was around, nobody made that sort of money.
Yeah.
I used to just think it was made up.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you don't really make 10 grand a month. After everything, you probably get about one, and it just used to adjust everything to my own map of the world. So your dad was a builder, not necessarily a property investor in the sense that he had a portfolio or but a building, and so he drew you into the world of property then and introduced you to property education.
Yeah, so I went with my dad and we went on a 2-day training where the goal was to find out about the buy-to-let. I went on that training. First time I've ever gone away and stayed away with my dad, which was really fun. So we had a great time. And on that training, I went there with the hope of getting my first property, earning a couple of £100 a month. At that point, when they started telling me what else you could do in property, my mind was literally blown. I can remember that day so vividly. It was like I'd landed in Hogwarts and I was the muggle. I was looking around at all these people who were talking about these different property strategies, all the money that they were making, and I couldn't believe what was happening around me. And then that's when they mentioned that you could rent a property and then run it as a serviced accommodation for specifically contractors. And I remember thinking, I could actually do this. I could actually do this next week, I could do this. And at that point, I was just really excited. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, forget about the buy to let. We're talking about £1,000 a property. Then you start doing the maths in your head and you're like, well, if I get 2 properties, 3 properties. And that's really where it all started when I first heard about the rent to rent strategy.
Nice. And out of curiosity, how many buy to lets do you have today?
None. Not a great strategy.
Good. Well, good thing that you went to get the education. I always say when we deliver our 2-day training, like if you walk away from this training and with a goal of getting a buy to let, then I've let you down.
Yeah.
There's so much more to property now than what people did 20 years ago that will allow you to generate so much more profit and life-changing money with just a little bit of education to take you there. So, okay, you got exposed to short-term lets. Now, you've already referenced you didn't have a ton of cash, you were budgeting your cash out. So when you went to that training, is this the training where you stopped off at the service station on the way? Just to give a bit of context to people, what happened there?
So I'm driving to Glasgow with my dad and I said to him, I need to call off, get myself organised, get a notepad and pen. And I said, I'll get you a coffee while I'm in there. So I went into the shop, got myself a notepad and pen, got a little coffee, got to the checkout and my card declined. So if you think, does she need this training? The answer is yes, now more than ever. So Dad ended up paying for the notepad and pen and the coffee.
I guess you owe him.
I guess I still do.
So you've got introduced to this strategy then that didn't need a load of cash up front, which was rent to rent. So you rent the property from the landlord. With that landlord's permission, you then use that property for short-term lets, specifically in your case for contractors.
Exactly.
So I guess let's talk about the first property that you got, but just give me a bit of insight. How many properties did you get and in what frame of time? Because you said you were ready to do it next week.
Straight away. Like, this is a massive mindset thing. If I think back to when I first got going, there was no part of me that didn't think I could do it. I knew that if I put my mind to this, I would be very successful at it and nothing was going to get in my way. I was seriously committed from day one. And then I got my first property live on the 5th of January 2020. And on the middle of that September, I took on my last 16th property of that year.
So 16 properties you got set up in the space of 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty strong going. So let's talk about the first ever deal. How long to get the first deal under your belt?
Got the first deal within a few weeks, so sent out a message to multiple landlords in my area. Didn't really have an intention of narrowing down the landlords at the beginning. I just wanted to build great relationships and start to understand who was in my area. It didn't matter if they had a property and it wasn't suitable for me at that moment. I just wanted to build relationships in the world of property. And so that's what I did. I sent out a message to over 250 landlords and just said, I'm looking for properties to rent. If you have something available, please reach out. And I got some interesting messages back. I got some messages back where they're wanting far too much rent. But one of the guys came back and he said, yeah, absolutely. When can you view? So I went straight away and did a viewing on this property. And I pulled up. I was so excited. And there was bushes that had grown over the windows. You actually couldn't see out of these windows at this point. But I was just so excited that this landlord believed in me. He was a really nice guy. And he just said, of course you can take the property. And I was just so excited. So I took this property on, super excited. Rung my dad, said, Dad, come down and see. I've managed to do it. I've secured my first property. Can't believe it. Going to get it furnished. He walked in and he was like, what the have you done? Like, this property needs work. I was like, no, it just needs a fluff and buff. And it did. So we trimmed the hedges down. He came and helped me for the weekend and we sort of did what we could. And I put in brand new furniture. So because I knew I was going to be letting it to contractors, they want a comfortable bed. They want to have a good kitchen, somewhere to park their van. They weren't worried about the walls being magnolia at this point. Like, don't worry about the small things at the start. I just wanted to take action, and imperfect action beats inaction every day. So I did it. And we got it up and running. We got it live and it got a booking straight away. So it worked.
Amazing. So I'm going to break down this process for anyone. There's lots of different things that I want to get into. One was just recapping on how did you go about getting that first property. The other one that I want to talk about is, well, if you didn't have any money, how did you get all of this furniture? And then we'll look at how you got that booking. So there's three things that I want to touch on here. So the first one, I just want to elaborate a bit on that process. There's going to be people listening going, okay, well, you sent out these messages. Where did you get the phone numbers? How did you gather them up? How did you send a message to everybody? And then maybe if we get time, you can tell us some of the weird messages that you got back.
Maybe. I used a virtual assistant. And I gave them super, super clear instructions. So I said, I need you to go on to Gumtree, Open Rent, Facebook Marketplace, and I want you to put in these postcodes, choose these particular areas, and I want you just to give me every single landlord's number that you can possibly find on here and put them in an Excel spreadsheet for me. So in amongst that, there were some landline phone numbers that were no use to me, but overall, the majority of them were mobile phone numbers. I then sent a text out on Fire Text, which allows you to send one message to multiple numbers. So you just upload a spreadsheet and that was it. So the text message was very, very simple. I'm looking to rent your property. I offer rent for 3 to 5 years, no voids. Contact me if you're interested. Now, what's really useful about that is you're now getting the landlord to come to you. So if they come back to me, I now know that they're interested and that they are potentially going to give me their property. So it puts you in a good position. And when I got the message back and I went and did the viewing, I think one of the biggest things I did at the start was I didn't overthink it. I didn't go there with a script. I didn't go there worrying about what to say. A massive thing that I say in property and in life, people buy people. So when I got there, I just got to know him. I didn't ask him about the property to start with. I asked him, he's wearing his gym outfit. And I said, where have you been? You've been to the gym? He said, yeah, I'm training for a triathlon. I was like, I'm training for a triathlon too. That's really good. And he was like, yeah, my daughter's a teacher. So I was like, I'm a teacher too. So I didn't pretend to be somebody else. I was just me. Told him about what I was doing. I said, there's an Amazon getting built nearby. So what I'm planning on doing is putting furniture in here. housing the guys that are working out of the area who are staying here and offering them accommodation. That's how it's going to work. And he said, it sounds like a great idea. I'd be really excited to help you and support you on this. Now, the great thing about that was he was then bought into me. And he had 50 more properties. So that's one landlord who's now got 50 houses. And guess what? His friends are landlords too. So I've now met one person and I've got access to multiple properties, which was great. So that was really useful at the start. And he went home. So I left thinking, this is great. He's going to give me his property. He went home. He sent me a message and he said, I'm really sorry, Helen. My wife, she doesn't want me to do this with you. She's not bought into what you're doing. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Would it be possible to come and meet her so I can explain to her what I'm doing? And he didn't come back for a little while. So I messaged again and I was like, just triple checking that I couldn't come down. He said, look, come down for coffee when you're next in the area and you can meet her. So I went down and I met her and exactly the same thing. I had a coffee and just explained, this is what I'm doing. I'm a teacher right now. I'm looking to do this. Her children are teachers. We got on really well. And she said, absolutely, let's, take the property. So I didn't do anything special. I was just me.
Awesome. So I'm going to extract some key parts from what you've been saying. Number one, because you get people out there, they go and speak to one landlord and the landlord says no. And they go, well, rent to rent doesn't work because this one singular landlord that I approached said no. One first point that I want to take away from what you've done is you contacted a large volume of landlords, and I like simple expressions that sum up complex and important points. And the simple expression that springs to mind is that volume negates luck. Just 3 words that sum up the fact that the more people you contact, the more likely you're going to contact somebody that will prove to be of value. The second one's more around resilience, because you got a no, but you didn't hear no. You almost heard, you haven't convinced me yet. And so rather than just let that go, see, some people, there's different points, right? I see there's different crossroads here, because if you would have gone to the training, not taken action, none of this would have happened. If you'd have gone to the training, spoke to one person, got one message back, didn't like it, none of this would have happened. If you'd have gone to the training, met this landlord, he said no, and you just went, well, fine, I'll leave it, none of this would have happened. But you said, well, hey, well, can I have a chat to her? And so you followed up and you were persistent. Polite, no doubt, but persistent, which is very interesting to hear. And as you said, sometimes it's a case that there's a domino effect of one landlord will unlock the door to lots of other landlords. So after that, was that the only landlord you dealt with then, or did you go and find other people?
No, I found other people. So I knew that this strategy was going to work very well because there was an Amazon being built. So in my mind, you'd have to be really, really bad at what you're doing to not get to not be able to have people in your property. So I started driving around and looking at the for let signs and just trying to find properties. So I would just go out on a weekend, put Piper in the back of the car and just drive around and look for anywhere that's for let. Then I would knock at the door, see if there's still tenants in there, see if the next door neighbour knows who owns it. And I went to one property and I knocked at the door and it turns out that he was the landlord who owned next door. So he was a little bit confused at first as to what on earth I was talking about. And I realised, looking back, it probably sounded a little bit crazy. And you've got some random girl knocking at your door asking if she can run your house as a serviced accommodation. So I let him think about it for a week. Then I sent him a message and he didn't come back. But at this point, I start to get bookings coming in and I can see that there is serious money to be made. So I knew that he was renting the property for 600. So I sent him a message and said, hiya, just double checking if you're still open to letting me the property at £650. And he came straight back. He said, yeah, absolutely. Do you want to come down and meet me? So I went down and met him and took the property on, and it actually worked out perfect for him. He didn't want someone in there full time next door. He still wanted to use like the back end of the garden and things. So we worked out what would work for him and what would work for me. And again, every landlord wants something different. So I would say...
Well, he wanted an extra 50 quid.
He wanted an extra £50 and the back of his garden.
Fair enough.
So they all want something different. And the key point with my landlords is I always make the effort to listen to what they're saying and listen to what they're wanting and making sure that renting their property to me is going to benefit them over them taking a normal tenant.
100%. It's got to be a win-win, right? And you've got to make it a no-brainer. And if you do it in the right way, then it is actually more beneficial a lot of the time than it is for them to rent to a standard tenant. We can get into that. There's two more points that I promised that I'd pick up on. One of them was in relation to furnishing the property then. So if you didn't have abundant cash lying around, did you go ahead and nick one of your envelopes, or how did you furnish the properties?
The envelopes just weren't cutting it, Steve. There was just not enough money in them. So I was told at the time, you can just go out and lease furniture. Again, didn't really think about it. So I started contacting different leasing companies who would be able to lease me the furniture. And they kept coming back and saying, no, you've got really poor credit and we're not going to lend to you. We're not going to be able to do this. Then spoke to a guy on the phone and he was like, you're going to need to bring somebody else in, put them as director. And then it just all got really complicated. And I thought, it can't be this hard. So I did the same again. I just thought volume is going to win all day long. And I just reached out to every single furniture leasing company you could possibly think of. Started putting messages out on Facebook, and a guy came back and he said, I've got someone that will lend to you on this. So you go to Fusion Furniture. I've got a company that will fund it for you. You don't need to change the structure of your company. The rates will be a little bit higher. Fine. And I was able to get the furniture. I leased everything. So I leased the furniture, the pictures on the walls, the mirror, the teaspoons, Henry the Hoover, the ironing board, you name it, I leased it. And do you know what the great thing about this is? It literally changed everything. So they turn up in a huge van, empty the van, and they do everything for you. They built everything. They hung things on the walls. They took all of their rubbish away, and the house was done in a day. Perfect.
That's incredible. So again, it's about being resourceful rather than just having resources, isn't it?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I think one of the things that we will have both seen in the world of property coaching and property education is people that have some money who are then determined to spend it. So they maybe set up a rent to rent and they've got 20 grand and said, all right, let's buy this furniture, let's buy that, let's spend this. And they spend 10 to 20 grand just furnishing one rent to rent rather than holding cash back and focusing on getting more deals and being more resourceful in the way that they go about it. So, okay, so you use leasing, and again, you use your high volume, high resilience approach, which seems to be the Helen Louise secret sauce we're extracting that you maybe think's not that special, to quote you earlier on, but actually is quite a special trait. That it might be one simple trait, but it leads to a very different life. So the last one is filling it. Now, you've alluded to the fact that you were specifically looking for Amazon contractors at the time. Why? How did you reach out to them? How did you know they were looking? How did you get them into your properties? There's going to be people here that are like, okay, fine. You told me how to find the property. You've told me how to set the property up. How do I fill the property up?
There's a few different ways. So a lot of people talk badly of the online travel agents. I really like online travel agents. I think they are a great vehicle to get people in your property. It's your job to then take those people direct. So number one, booking.com. It is the biggest online travel agent. You need to be advertised on there. Airbnb, Verbo, Expedia, hotels.com. The list goes on. So making sure that you are visible. When somebody books, reaching out to them. Now, at the beginning, I used to go do check-ins. I would go and meet the guests, see where they were working, how long they were in the area for. I would make sure I built a good relationship with them so that they would want to come and stay with me again. Now it's my job to get them to come and stay and not to get them to book through the online travel agents. So that's one great way of doing it. And then the next way is going onto site itself. So I could see that the Amazon was being built. I could see all of the ground workers were there. And there's normally cabins. So I drove down there and went to the cabins, spoke to the different site managers and just said, look, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm providing. I'm providing properties for people working away from home. I specialise in it. So there's somewhere to park your vans. There is a large kitchen to cook in. Each bedroom's got its own TV. All the furniture's brand new. It's better than a hotel. And they want to stay in properties. They don't want to stay in hotels. So I always find it's much, much better to go via the contractors and get them to ring the office to book your accommodation than it is trying to ring the office to get them to book for the contractors, because ultimately they just need to find them somewhere to stay. They probably don't care how comfortable the beds are. So that would be my best tip, is to go out onto site. Now, it's not always super easy, but as long as you wear, like now you have to wear steel toe caps, high vis, hard hat. You can get it all from Screwfix. Yes, you look very silly. Yes, it's not the most glamorous. There's no part of me that used to sit in those car parks and be excited about it. But once you go in there and you do the thing and you get the booking, they could be there for a whole year, or 2 years even. Some of my contractors have been with me for. Then is it worth it? Absolutely. Is it easy? I'd say it's not too difficult. It's just not comfortable. So,
yeah, I think you're touching a key point. So there's going to be people listening going, oh, flipping heck, I don't feel comfortable talking to these landlords. I don't feel comfortable going on site. But you're not shying away from it, saying, well, yeah, it's not comfortable. You might feel like you don't enjoy your dress
Steve,
at the time.
I used to sit in my vehicle for over an hour because I really, really did not want to go onto site. Like, people think I must have just pulled up on site, got out my car and then jollied on. I didn't. I used to sit and oh my goodness. Then I'd think maybe some of them will come out of site soon. They'll walk to their vans and I'll catch them there. But yeah, you just got to go on and try it. I always think, what is the worst that can happen? They're going to say no. They're probably not going to remember you. It doesn't matter.
In order to do that, in order to overcome that fear, because that's what that is really, isn't it? It's fear of rejection. You need to have something driving you. You almost have to have either a very powerful why or a powerful fear of what happens if you don't do it. What was driving you to get out of the car after an hour to go and face that fear and to land those bookings?
I was terrified. When I had to pay the rent on these properties, I just kept thinking to myself, how on earth am I going to pay £490, which is my first ever property rent? That at the time felt crazy to me. That was more than my monthly budget. So in my mind, I'm thinking, how am I going to pay this? I've got no other choice. And I could see the potential at the other side of that. If I go out on this site now and I manage to get 30 contractors and they're staying across 10 houses and each house is making me £10,000 a month, at £1,000 a month, that is life-changing money. I couldn't not do it. The pain of not doing it was way worse than the pain of doing it. The pain of not doing it was way worse than the pain of being rejected. So it's about thinking about what you really, really want, grounding yourself and thinking, I'm just going to do it anyway. A lot of us care about what other people think. We care about what other people are going to make of us. Nobody else in your life matters but you. And nobody's coming to save you. No one's going to come and do it for you. I couldn't get anybody else to go out on this site and do the thing that I wanted to do. So it came back to me. And that's why I ended up having the success that I had, because nobody else in that area was going on the sites and doing the thing that I was doing. Why? Because it's uncomfortable, but it's meant to be. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, and then you wouldn't feel so great like you'd achieved anything.
Did you ever procrastinate? Did you ever drive home? Did you ever go, screw it, I'm not doing it today?
100%. I've been on that site so many times, I can't tell you. It's not easy. I actually had, about 2 years into my journey, I'd set up in a new location and the properties were doing okay, but they were on online travel agents, and online travel agents are fine, but they take a large percentage. So they were profiting, but they weren't profiting what they should have been. They weren't great. And I remember speaking to my dad and he said, you've lost your edge. He's like, you used to be going out on site. You used to be doing this. You used to be doing that. He's like, now you're just in the office, keeping yourself busy. He's like, why don't you get out on that site? There's a new site. I've seen it open up. And I was like, you know what? He's right. He's got a point. And it'd been a little while because my contractors had been in for a good time. So I went back out onto site and same thing again. I sat in the car park and I was, oh gosh, not this again. And I went there. I had my donuts. I had some cookies. And I went into I was going to call them bake cabins. What do you call them? The lunch cabins. And I just went in and said, look, I've got properties in the area. Is anyone looking? And one of them said, yeah, we've got a guy coming over from Ireland and he's bringing quite a lot of lads. He's definitely going to need somewhere. I'll put you in touch. So the guy came to my office and he needed properties, not just in my area, but up and down the UK. So I ended up making about £2,000 a property. Plus he then needed some in the Lake District. He needed some down in the South. So I was making around about 10 to 15% off each booking because I went out on site.
Because you overcame that fear.
Yeah.
I think the goal is not to be afraid. And this is what sometimes people confuse. The goal is not to try and not be afraid. The goal is to have courage, which is to do the thing in spite of the fear itself. So clearly you did that. Clearly it paid off. The combination of having the education, knowing what to do, and actually doing it. There's a lot of people get the education, know what to do. They don't take the next steps. They don't get the support. They don't actually go out and take action. And then they don't get the results. Now, there's a couple of other things that you did besides from rent to rent then. So rent to rent, we sort of covered off. You're just about to start referencing, I think, the management side. And then we'll talk about flipping property, because that's another thing that you did with all that spare time you had around being a mother and a full-time teacher.
This is what I believe, okay? If you are not getting the results, then you are not doing something somewhere. I'm 100% certain that when you do the thing, you will get the results. So I wasn't getting the bookings that I wanted because I wasn't doing the thing that I wanted to do. So you got to feel the fear. You got to do the thing anyway if you genuinely want to get the results that you want to get. And you're not meant to feel great about it. I think I'm quite at peace knowing that across my whole property journey, I have lived outside of my comfort zone now for about 7 years. I live there. I can't remember what it was like to just be in my comfort zone, because you're always striving for more. When you want more, you normally have to give more, which is naturally uncomfortable. Otherwise, we'll be doing it anyway.
I mean, the comfort zone is where dreams go to die, isn't it?
Oh, I love that.
I don't think
Did you make that up?
I don't think I made it up. We'll Google it afterwards.
Comfort zone, where people go to die. Steve Doran.
If I didn't make it up, we should reword it and say that I made it up.
I feel like we could do that. It's great. I like it.
We'll work
I'm
on
going to
it.
stick it on my wall.
Steve Doran, the comfort zone where dreams go to die. But unfortunately, you see it, right? I always say the people that are probably at most risk are the people that are comfortable generally in life. They've got a reasonable income. They've got enough to pay the bills. They're not desperate financially. They're not feeling pain as such. And so they're not moving away from that pain. So they just go, well, and they're the ones that kick it down the road. Yeah, I'll do it, but I'll do it later. And they listen to their own lies and they believe their own excuses sometimes. I think those excuses tend to sound most believable to the people that are making them. When you're on the outside of it, especially as a coach, you sit there and you go, is that true? You start challenging those beliefs. Do you really not have the time? Do you really need this cash that you think you need? Do you really need to have years of experience? We all started somewhere on some deal at some point. Okay.
The question is, do you really want it? How badly do you want the thing? And do you actually see yourself getting it? Like when I first started out, I could see that bit, but I didn't see this part happening. So it's striving for the next goal that's not so big that it feels like it's impossible to hit. The goals will always get bigger as you meet the ones that you've set. So it's just about setting something that is achievable, that you know you can achieve in a short space of time. Because if I think about what I achieved in that first year, that set me up for the rest of my life, ultimately. And that wasn't about the properties, it wasn't about the income, it was about the mindset. Everything was underpinned by the fact that I believed in myself and I backed myself all day long, regardless of what anybody else thought or said. I knew I was going there. Other people probably didn't think I was going there, but I definitely knew I was going there.
Some people have to see it to believe it.
When I handed my notice in, my head teacher gave me my notice back. He handed it back to me. He's like, no, Helen, go home and think about this. Are you really? And I'm thinking, yeah. So I had to give it back the next day.
So breaking down your goals based on where you're at. So initially you wanted a couple £100, then I guess you went to a couple thousand, then you went up and up and up.
You start to realise what you can do. And it's crazy. When you put your mind to something and you start to realise how simple it is to make money. Even now, to this day, I still think it's crazy how simple it is to make money. You have an idea, you do the thing, you make the money. It really is as simple as that, as long as you don't get in your own head in the process.
And we all fight that every day, right? Mindset's an ongoing journey that's never a complete task. So, okay, flipping property, managing property, we'll touch on those. So you had a surplus. Let's start with management because it leads on nicely from where you were. So you had a surplus now of too many people for the properties that you got. Now that carries a value. A lot of people will be like, sorry, we can't actually house you, but what did you do?
Yes. That's all I said. Yes, 100%. I can help you. So nobody else is going out on site at this point. I've now got contractors that are saying to me, I had one guy and he said, how many houses have you got? And I'm like, loads. I've got loads of properties. I've got enough to house everybody on this site. At this point, I've got 4 houses. And he said, okay, great. I've got 32 steel erectors that are arriving in 14 days. Are you okay to house them? I was like, yes, 100% I can. And at that point, I started frantically going out, getting rent-to-rent properties. And then I stopped for a moment and I thought, actually, I could put these people in others' houses and charge a fee. So I started reaching out to people in my local area. They were already hosts that already did serviced accommodation. And I just said, got some guys that are coming to stay. Everybody loves direct bookings because they're great. You know, you don't have the turnover, you've got better income, it's more consistent, and you can prepare. So we did this and I put them in other people's properties, and then I just charged a percentage on top of that. So the contractors would pay me a per man per night rate. I would pay a set amount for the property and I would keep the profit in the middle. Now, that's a lucrative strategy. You don't need a property. You don't have any outgoings. You just have income.
It's arguably easier than rent to rent, or simpler, less overheads, less less paperwork.
It's great.
Fantastic. So, and then aside from that, which is great, you were flipping property as well. Now, again, you didn't have any money. Now, flipping is buying a property, doing it up or adding value, and then selling it. So if you didn't have any money, how did you go about that?
Okay, so I used the money from my rent-to-rent company. It made great profit in the first couple of years. I'm not a spender at this point. I've never had money, so it's just building up. I then purchased a property using the money from that company and I flipped it and then I made a profit, which was great. But then at this point, I'm now starting to realise that there is more and the expectation goes up, and I'm starting to realise that actually I could use this money and somebody else's money and probably buy something a little more expensive with a larger margin. So that's what I did next. Was I used my own money and an investor's money to start buying property, which allowed me to scale much, much quicker and actually allowed me to get to the point of holding properties quickly as well. So use somebody else's money. I was buying properties that were run down, below market value, negotiating, being patient, and then uplifting the value and either selling or holding.
Okay. So questions that people are going to be asking as they listen to this is, where do you find a private investor? And also, why would somebody lend you the money to do a property deal?
I never really thought about any of this. I just did it. I found it always comes down to the deal. So an investor doesn't really care about you as much as we like to think they do. They don't. They care about what they're going to get, just like the landlords care about what they're going to get, just like the management clients care about what they're going to get too. They care about how long you're going to take their money for and what kind of return they're getting, and is the money secure? So is it a good deal? So what I went out and I did was I found deals that had enough equity in them to secure that person's money against it. So I'm getting them below market value. There's enough room in there to spend money and then make a profit still. And it was never questioned. You just advertise and say, look, I'm looking for this amount of money, this amount of return, this is going to be the security. And they're getting 3% in the bank. You know, I'm out there giving 10, 11, 12%. It's a no-brainer because you found a good deal. So I would say I did the right thing. I found the deal first, then the investors came. I had multiple people wanting to invest in me on that first deal, multiple people.
Nice. And so one of the things that I say first is very similar. People think that a private investor is doing them a favor, but you're actually doing them a favor because you're giving them a better return than they could otherwise get in the banks. Their money's secured just the same as a mortgage would be secured, with first charge security over the property. And there's actually an amazing amount of people that have got funds that are willing to invest. I think there's a big misconception that anyone that doesn't have money thinks that nobody has money. Like we said earlier, you know, if you don't earn 10 grand a month, you don't think anyone earns 10 grand a month. But how many people now, in your experience, would you say have got funds available that could be put to use, but they don't know what to do with it?
They're everywhere. They're passing you on the street. 1 in 6 people have got over £100,000 either in equity that's being given to them, that's in their pension. Everybody around you has got access to money. And if you say to them how they can use their money to invest and they're going to get 3 times what the bank is giving them, I can guarantee you will be amazed at how many people have got that kind of money and access to it. I remember I was on the phone to my dad and he was driving and he had his friend in the car. I didn't realise he had his friend in the car, and I'm telling him all about this deal. And his friend asked him when I came off the phone, would you take investment? I'd be willing to invest in that deal. It wasn't me that he was wanting to invest in. It was the deal and the return that he heard he was going to get. So it's everyone around you's got money. They will come once you found the deal. You've got to get it in the right order.
Exactly right. And so anyone listening, I'm going to recap on that point, because lots of people go, oh, and this is a confidence thing. Lots of people go, I'm going to find my investor and then I'll go and find a deal. Not many people are going to be interested in your theory of finding a deal. But when you find a good deal, I can't count how many times, even if I just think about our coaching team, Tim talking to his broker and his broker saying, oh, can I lend you the money?
Yeah.
Tracy talking to a friend, explaining what she's going to do, and her friend who she didn't know had the money, saying, oh, can I lend you the money? It tends to be you get the deal and then the money will come, and you've got to have faith in that. I think a lot of people they struggle with the confidence in knowing that. This is one of the reasons being around people that do this day in, day out is so valuable. I mean, as you know, in our academy, there's students that are raising private finance every week. We raised last year £10.6 million of private finance into people's deals. So we see this day in, day out. But anyone listening here might be like, who the heck are these people? Do they even exist? Is this stuff real? Now, you've obviously proven yourself in many different fields. Fast forward to today, you've got a range of property businesses. So you've got obviously your property investments that you own. You've got your short-term let management business, again, where you place those bookings, a short-term let cleaning company where your staff do changeovers at properties. So you've got multiple staff within that business. We co-own a deal sourcing business where we sell existing properties to people that are already cash flowing, or good deals to people that maybe don't have the time or the knowledge or the experience to go out and find them themselves. You've got an HMO lettings agency. I could be here for quite a while. So I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of every single one of these businesses. I could pick your brains on all of those. If people want to come and learn more from you, then we obviously do a 2-day training. They can find that and come along, and we'll deep dive onto every strategy that we do and how do we do it. I guess what I'm wondering is more at a high level, and just to keep it real with people, and I don't know what your answer is going to be to this, but on that journey, you're setting up rent to rent, you're doing this management. What challenges did you have? What mistakes did you make? Were there any moments where you thought, I shouldn't have done this?
There was the starting point for me. I was very hands-on. I never really thought about handing out and getting help of other people. So I had all my properties. I'm unable to say no at this point. I've never had money in my life, and at this point I've got so many opportunities around me. I'm just saying yes, 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 yes to everything. And it did get quite busy at one point. So I can remember going out 3 a.m. I got a phone call, I've just booked your property. I'm working shifts at the Amazon. I need to stay somewhere now. I need to check in now. So 3 a.m. I get out of bed. I drive to the property. I do a clean, get this person in, go back, put Piper into nursery, then go and do a day's teaching. It was crazy at the beginning. And I think looking back now, what would have helped me in that was if I'd got help sooner, if I'd outsourced sooner, such as getting a virtual assistant or having somebody else on the ground, getting a cleaning company in sooner, then maybe I wouldn't have been as busy. I did the thing, then I built my systems, and that was stressful. I would say now what would have been better is if I'd built my systems and then with the first couple of properties and then maybe gone and done the thing. But look, it's learning, and you're never going to get it right first time. It's never going to be perfect. We always have this image in our mind of how things should be and how they should look. It never looks perfect. Even now, there's things that I could be doing better. So do I regret any of it? No, because it taught me some lessons. I didn't pay much attention to my accounts, and I remember downloading Xero and linking it to my bank account, and there was over 2,000 unreconciled transactions. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, like, how am I going to get through these? I never did that again. I learned and I got it right, but I didn't worry about the small stuff at the start. All of that I learned as I went along. And my great accountant, when I moved to a new one, he helped me with all of that and explained a lot of things to me to allow me to be more tax efficient as well. So I think at the beginning, getting the right people around you and not being afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, nice. I think everyone focuses on the profit. They forget about the tax until the tax bill comes in, and then it can really catch them off
it really
guard.
can. I'll never forget the day I got an email and it was like £23,000 in corporation tax. And I remember thinking, how much? I rang my accountant and I was like, is that right? Was that meant to say 23,000 or was it meant to say 2,300? Like, did you get this bit wrong? Again, the money was in there. It was fine. You learn as you're going. It's not meant to be perfect at the beginning. So you just get better.
Yeah, amazing. And yeah, when you've got, and at this point, you had quite a few companies, if you've got the right support, then you can find reliefs, especially in property. There's so many tax reliefs that a lot of standard accountants won't know. If you're doing short-term lets, there might be a flat rate VAT scheme that's applicable. If you're back in the days when we were buying short-term lets, we'd be claiming capital allowances and things like that. There's stamp duty reliefs, there's corporation tax reliefs, there's all of these wonderful things that people will assume that their accountant's going to have handled, but 90% of them won't.
You've got to take some responsibility and accountability to get yourself educated in what you're doing. Numbers has never been my strong point, but I can't go through life saying numbers isn't my strong point. Otherwise, where's that going to get me? It's going to get me back to where I started. So I took the time to learn more about tax. I took the time to get the education. I took the time to learn the schemes that were going to support me in my business. And it's saved me thousands of pounds, letting my accountant know that I want to do this thing. Your accountant is dealing with many more customers. They're not just focused on your company. So you have to take accountability for everything. That you hear people say, oh, my accountant's not really good, or this person did this, but ultimately it falls back on you. Did you give them the right direction? Did you go away and understand the thing that's going to get you to where you want to be? So I think if you can hold yourself accountable for everything that happens in your property, in your business, in your life, that gives you control to allow you to manage it and monitor it and control it.
Nice and really sound advice. What's it like balancing, and what was it like? I like that you laughed as soon as I said the word balancing. Helen Louise, balance might not be her strong suit. We'll find out in a minute. What's it like balancing, and what has it been like balancing being a mother alongside investing in property? I mean, you're talking about 3 a.m. changeovers and all of these contractors and all these different properties and loads of things happening at any given time. You're also trying to bring a young daughter up and give her the support that she needs in order to thrive. How do you find that, and how do you manage that?
It was hard. And it was one of the hardest things on my journey to get my head around. I felt so much mum guilt at the start of my journey. I remember thinking, I can see all my friends out online. They're taking their kids here. They're taking their kids there. I'm taking my kid to a garden that I'm spending my day there trying to fix. She's playing with screwdrivers. She's playing with sticks. She is finding herself in piles of nettles. And I remember thinking, is this the right thing to do? It was very stressful because I felt like I wasn't spending much time with her as well. I've done this thing to have more time with her. Now I'm having less time with her. But then I soon came to realise that that was amazing. That was the best thing for her to see and for her to be around. And it still is. When I got myself surrounded by the right people that were in property, other mums specifically in property, they were saying to me, It's normal. I take my kids there every weekend. They come round all the houses with me. They're teenagers now and they say how great it is and they actually thank me for it. And it gave me a whole new perspective on what I was doing. And actually, she's getting to see and learn how you make money in this world. The education system was built for many, many years ago. It is not tailored for you to be successful now. It's our duty as parents to set our children up for a great future. That doesn't mean me doing well and giving her everything she wants. It means me showing her and teaching her how to do well in life. And that's what it still looks like to this day. I still live a very busy life because I enjoy being busy. And she loves coming and getting involved with me. She comes to events with me. She comes to properties with me. She understands investing. You know, she's seen your videos. She tries to copy them on the blackboard and she'll be saying, this is how you invest in property. This is what good investing looks like. And she's 7. So it's starting for her to understand this now. Now, it's not always going to be easy, but life isn't easy. Working a full-time job, getting not a great income, not having enough money to put to one side to secure her a good future, that's not easy either. So I would say everything in life is hard. Choose which hard you're able to have and still be successful with. So hard that gives you success or hard that doesn't get you anywhere. And this is still hard. It's still hard having a child and doing all of this. But look at the results that I'm getting. I remember I've done quite well at this point and Piper is about to start school and I'm super busy. All the other mums have chosen their schools. I haven't even given it a bit of thought. So, you know, you're thinking that, oh, mum guilt coming back. And I went and looked round the local private school and I remember looking around and thinking, wow, I really want her to go here. So I got her entered, got all of the fees paid. And I'll never forget the first day walking up that drive. I was in my late 20s and I'm looking around and thinking, yeah, I did this. And that was like a real moment that I've never forgotten. I remember just walking up the driveway, watching her in her little uniform and thinking, she gets to experience this because of what I've done. And I know she will she will always be super grateful for that. So that's cute.
That's cool. Do you think at her current young age, she really understands what it took to get her to where she is? Or do you think it's something she'll look back at later on and realise?
I think it's something that she'll look back on later on and realise. I'm teaching her how to be successful as a human being. So she will do whatever she wants to do, and I'm sure she will be successful at it. When she's older, she might appreciate the work and things that I put in to get her there. Maybe she won't. Maybe she'll never know. But look, the goal for me is I wanted her to have a great childhood. And in the school that she's at right now, that's exactly what she's got. And that's what makes everything that you do completely worthwhile. Sorry.
It's fine. Well, given that I know Piper quite well, I know you've done an incredible job. If your daughter, Piper, was listening to this in 20 years' time from now, what's one message that you would want her to take away from this?
Believe in yourself, back yourself every single day. No one is going to do this for you. I'm a big believer that you can achieve absolutely anything in life that you want to achieve so long as you put your mind to it. And so my best piece of advice to her in 20 years' time would be, if you want to do it, go out there and do it, because I know 100% you'll be great at it. You've just got to put in the work.
Good. And well done for not only inspiring Piper, but also inspiring so many people in our community, so many, not just women, but a lot of women who are in business and in property who look to other women for guidance. Like you said, you look to other people to reframe, hold on, no, this is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Exactly.
Don't feel guilty about this. So congratulations for that. Who inspires you?
It's a great question. I'm inspired by many people around me. You inspire me every single day. You push me to levels that feel very uncomfortable at times, but I am very grateful for that. So thank you. And I look to other people around me that are successful. I look to my clients. They inspire me every day. I watch people at the very beginning of their journeys doing the thing. And I respect it because it's not easy. Those guys inspire me every single day. This is why I love doing what I do. I love my coaching. I love my presenting because I get the opportunity to live that moment over and over again through my clients, which is amazing. It's an amazing thing to be able to have. So I'm very grateful for that as well.
It's an amazing thing to do for them, as well as to get to enjoy that journey alongside them as well. And then what's next for you? What do you see in the future? 5 years from now, where do you want to be? Have you thought that far ahead?
I think it's just to keep going on the same path that I'm on right now. Is I know that I will keep striving for more, and I know that I will keep achieving it, and I know that it will never be easy, but I know that I don't enjoy easy. So I'm just really excited about my future. I'm excited to where it's going to go next. I've got some amazing opportunities that are sitting in front of me right now, and I'm just looking forward to executing on those and seeing how far can I actually go, like what can I actually achieve in my life. That's exciting. It's really exciting.
Awesome. So the plan is to keep challenging yourself, to keep growing, to keep striving, and to keep accomplishing and to keep inspiring other people on their journey as well.
Definitely.
Awesome stuff. Helen, thank you very much
My
for
pleasure.
coming on. And I'm sure people are going to take massive value on so many fronts, not just the technical side of how you did what you did, but also I think you've really unlocked the mindset that underpins this success. And you've also simplified it, because I think the problem is a lot of people get in their head and then they do nothing. And what you've said is you didn't overthink at any point. You just did.
I think one thing that I remind myself of every day is you're not meant to feel good about it every single day. You're not meant to feel great about this thing. But as long as you do it anyway, regardless of how you feel, do what you need to do to get to where you want to be, regardless of your feelings. And I think if you can do that and you can master that simple thing and ask yourself it on a daily basis and overcome it, that will allow you to move the needle faster.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.